Hey guys, it's Outland. I'm just out here in my backyard doing a little gear testing. Thought I would show you a little bit of some gear tweaks that I've done to this hammock. Now, I've had this hammock for several years now, and it's still just one of my favorite pieces of gear. I just don't get tired of using this Hennessy Expedition hammock. It serves all my needs. It's absolutely fantastic. It's a little on the heavy side, but the weight honestly isn't that big of a deal. So let me show you some of the things I've done with this thing.
Alright, so what I want to show you first is I want to show you something really simple that works really well. And what I've done here is I've created a drip line on this Hennessy hammock here. All this is an extra piece of zinget line that I had lying around. I basically cut 2, 3, or 4 inch long pieces, lark's headed them on right here around the rope. And then just for a little bit of extra insurance, I tied an extra knot here at the bottom. And what this does is when you have water coming under your tarp, down your line, what can happen is water can go right down in here, especially if you have these snake skins. It can go right through here, drip right onto you, come right onto your head. It's happened to so many different hammock campers, especially beginners, people who haven't had a lot of experience with hammocking. This simple little modification right here is absolutely fantastic. What will happen is physics will take over as soon as the water comes down. It's going to hit this, it's going to accumulate here, and gravity's going to take over. Water's going to come down, it's going to drip down here, and it's going to drip right off. Not even going to come anywhere near you. The water's going to stay far away. Fantastic thing. This is fully proven. I have used this multiple times. It works fantastically. I've used it in complete downpours, and I've stayed perfectly dry. I actually used this when I was at the Charles Dean Wilderness about a year ago, last May, and I was in a raging downpour. Water was coming all under my tarp, blowing around in the thunderstorm. As soon as it hit this drip line, it came right off. Did not come near me. I stayed perfectly dry. I was perfectly happy the entire night. Now, this will work with other types of hammocks, anything that has basically any kind of suspension that you have. So if you have whoopee slings, any kind of rope, stuff like this, you can tie basically around any kind of suspension like that. So it doesn't just have to be this Dyneema type cord like on the Hennessy. It can be multiple different kinds of hammocks. You can pretty much do it on any type of hammock. Now, many of us hammock campers are familiar with something like this. We use something called snake skins. A lot of us use these. Basically what that is just a tiny little sil nylon stuff sack that fits around the hammock and keeps it tightly confined, keeps it nice and very tightly wrapped, really easy to use. And then what you can do is basically just unroll it and deploy your hammock very quickly. Some other hammock campers also use something called a bishop bag, which is basically just a 2-ended stuff sack, and it's the same principle. It's just a little bit looser fitting, not as tight as these snake skins are. Now, one problem with any type of thing like this is when you're going to deploy your hammock, especially if you're in the dark or something like that, one problem you can have is remembering which is the head end versus the foot end. And basically what that means is if you have a left-handed hammock or a right-handed hammock, you have the zipper on a particular side. Maybe you like to get out a particular side, to get out on the right, get out on the left. Well, then something you may struggle with is remembering which is the head end, which is the foot end. So you end up getting your hammock all suspended and nicely hung, and you're like, I got the perfect angle, it looks great. And then you take the bags off, the snake skins or the bishop bag or whatever, and you're like, oh no, I deployed the wrong way. And so now you're facing the wrong direction. Maybe you're facing away from the campfire, away from the group, if you have multiple hammocks hanging or something like that. And then you're just like, now I've got to completely take it down, flip it around. It becomes very frustrating. Well, I'm going to show you another little trick with these drip lines that I kind of just came up with. I'm sure I didn't invent this. By no means is this my original idea, but just kind of came to me and I was like, oh, that's a great idea. And something that you can use to remind yourself every time which is the right end. So what I've done is I've taken one of the drip lines on the head end. This is the head end of the hammock where I always put my head. The zipper is always on the right side for me, even though I'm left-handed. Weird, I know. And what I've done is I've just colored this little bit of zinget I had. Now, I didn't have a different color zinget at the time that I went to do this. And I was really bored one day, so I was messing around with my wife's nail polish, and I was like, oh, I'm going to dip this in nail polish. So that's how I did this. I didn't even have any paint or anything around. I just dipped this end in nail polish, but a bright fluorescent red, so it's very easy to see. So against the bright yellow of the zinget line, now I've got this indicator here that this is the head end of the hammock. Always put this end where you want the head end to be. Really simple idea. You know, I've heard of people doing really drastic things to their hammocks, especially with these Hennessy's. Some take a dab of white paint or a permanent marker or something, and they apply it to the actual rope itself. And to me, that doesn't really make sense, because I don't want to damage the hammock as it is. You know, I may want to sell this someday or hand it down to my kids, and they might want to use it in a different configuration than me. I don't want to permanently damage this hammock. So what I've done is, this is a very temporary solution. It's a non-damaging solution, and it works absolutely fine. So it's a double function. It's a drip line and an indicator of my other side of my hammock. Works out really, really well. I've used this for a while now, and it's just absolutely fantastic.
Well, everybody, I hope this quick little bit of advice gives you just a little bit of help. If you're using any type of hammock setup and you're trying some different things, keep yourself dry and maybe try to remember which side is the head end versus the foot end. Just simple common problems that hammock campers run into. Nothing that can't be solved with a little ingenuity, but things like this is what makes life so much easier when you're out, especially when you're out in the backcountry and you're trying to set this thing up maybe in the dark, or you know, you're at camp and you're tired, you don't want to mess with it. These little things will help you out a lot. So thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. I will talk to you guys very soon.